is the Walksnail Goggles X worth it over the Dominator goggle? Accelerate, the big advantage of the Goggles X, the one thing that I think is most exciting about them is that Walksnail has said that in August of 2024, they plan, I think it's 2024, wouldn't make sense if it was 2025, that'd be way too far out. In August of 2024, they plan to release a second generation system that has something like 4 to 5 times the range of the current system. That's very exciting if it actually happens. So if you believe that that's going to happen, you would want to buy the Goggles X, because the Goggles X are specifically designed to be able to upgrade that radio module. However, I am a cynical person. I have seen too many times in my life where a manufacturer has hinted that they're going to do something that will be super amazing, and then, years later, for whatever reason, they haven't done it. And the people who bought the definitely going to be upgraded product today end up with a product that, maybe it's a fine product, but it doesn't get the upgrade that they sort of were hoping they were going to get when they bought it. And there has to be a part of me who looks at Walksnail's history of how they'll sort of tease a product and then it won't come out for a long time. And I wonder, they say they're going to release it in August, planned for August of 2024, but when will it actually come out? Will it be December? Will it be February of 2025? Will it be August of 2025? I have no idea. The other things that the Goggles X bring to the table, I think that they're, for some people, they're going to be killer features, but for a lot of people, they're not. They have an HDMI input, so you can use them with aftermarket. You could use them as just a simulator. You could play simulator with them by plugging them into your computer. You could use them with the HD0 ground station. I don't know how many people who are using Walksnail, that's a killer feature that would make them spend more on the Goggles X. They have support for an AV input for analog, but they're not that good at analog. They don't have an analog DVR, and they never will, according to people were could you just add an analog DVR with a firmware update? And Walksnail was nah, no, can't, no. So as an analog pilot, I want a DVR. As any kind of pilot, I want a DVR. Goggles don't have it. That kind of sucks. They have a weird way of going to static, where they don't actually go when the signal gets weak. Instead of going to a blue screen, they make this kind of fake static, but it's not the actual signal coming from the module. So when the signal is super weak, instead of seeing static that you can kind of try to fly through, it just goes to this fake sort of generated static, which as an analog, they're not serious about being an analog goggle, is how I would interpret it. They gave you an AV input, and they gave you a way to put an analog signal on screen. But if you look at what HD0 did, they did everything they could to try to make a really good analog goggle. And there are some problems with the HD0 goggles and their analog performance. I'm not saying they're perfect, but they tried really hard to make a great analog goggle, and they succeeded in a lot of ways. You look at the Walksnail Goggles X and you go, you kind of just gave me an AV input so you could say on your spec sheet that you did it. But as an analog, if I was serious as an analog pilot, I wouldn't be happy. I wouldn't accept the things that the Goggles X do. So it's kind of like a secondary. It's not a killer feature to buy the goggle. The Dominator goggles, on the other hand, they're marked down. You can get them from Rotor Riot for $380. They're significantly marked down, and they're really solid hardware. So there have been some issues people are having with the Goggles X, where the Goggles X overheat and the screen changes color or turns off. There are people who have done mods to the Goggles X where they add extra fans, all this stuff. It's impossible to know what % of people are having this problem. Objectively, it is a significant number of people. But let's say it's 25 people posting on Facebook having this problem. Let's say it's 15 people posting on Facebook having this problem. Well, if 15 people are posting on Facebook having this problem, then 100 people are having the problem and not posting on Facebook. They're just complaining or cussing. And then how many goggles did they sell and what percentage of those are having the problem? There's no way to know. But like the Dominator goggles, we know that they're pretty freaking solid when it comes in terms of performance or in terms of build quality. So I think for a lot of people, the one thing that would make you want to get the Goggles X is the promise of the new system. But I've got to say, it's so far off in the future. I personally would find it hard to spend money based on that. You know, that's what I would say. I think the Fatshark Dominators for $380 from Rotoride, if you're going with the Walksnail system, are going to keep you happy for at least a year, maybe more. Bill Doe points out that the Dominators don't come with antennas, but the Avatar X does, so the Dominators are not really cheaper. Well, hold on, Bill. I mean, yes, but also, wait, maybe let me argue with you, because I love to argue. Caddx FPV Goggles X, they do come with antennas, that is true. $459. And realistically, you're going to want the patch antenna, which is another $25. But let's just assume you don't. $459 versus Dominator HD, $380. So,
and just to be clear, you might say, hey, those were on sale or something, but actually, I think they've been $380 for like
that's a permanent.
now.
That's a permanent price drop.
Yeah.
In my opinion, that's a permanent price drop. So it's $80 that you're saving by going with the. Well, that's true. That's $40 if you were to buy Omnis. That's true. They're pretty close. They're closer than you think. I will say many people are going to throw these antennas in the trash and buy aftermarket antennas anyway, at which point the price difference is $80. I would say. So that's a counterpoint. But that's a good point. I think the Dominator is a better made goggle than the Goggles X. Like, Fatshark knows how to make a really solid goggle. I like the field of view on the Dominator better. The smaller field of view is easier to... I literally can't see my battery voltage on the Goggles X, no matter how I kind of like... Unless I make the goggles, like, really weirdly fit on my face. Yeah. Anyway. And they have a power button.